So let's talk about our section. Yay, the section of dispute resolution. There's a link to an overview that you can see, which talks a little bit about who we are, the information about the publications that we have, the books that we've recently put out, how we kind of fit into the overall scheme of things. We are kind of like a bar association in a bar association in that we function in very similar ways. We have our own set of bylaws that govern how we operate, and you'll see in the leadership guidebook in a few seconds that you can easily see our bylaws. We have a leadership team made up of officers. We have a past chair who is Harry Samaras. We have a current chair who is Joan Stearns Johnson. We have a chair-elect that is Myra Selby. We have a vice chair that's David Larson. We have a budget officer who is Brian Pappas, and then we have our two House of Delegate representatives, Pam Enslin and Jim Alfini. They kind of make up the core of our executive committee or officers. There is a provision within the bylaws that allows a couple of other folks to be added. For example, last year, the long-range planning officer, Ava Abramowitz, was a member of the executive committee. We're not having a long-range planning committee chair this year, so there's not, that slot's not being filled. But there are other committee chairs, standing committee chairs that can participate in the executive committee as well. So we have almost 9,000 members, not quite 4,000 attorney members, about 1,000 associate members, and that would be people who are maybe ombuds or who are not licensed attorneys but work as maybe community mediation related kinds of things, that you don't have to, of course, have a law license to be a mediator. So that's where that membership comes from. And then we also have about 5,000 law student members. So the figure of 8,756 is a little bit low. We've come up now that everybody got their dues notices and hopefully paid their dues throughout July. The bylaws, you'll be able to take a quick look at those. Those basically just tell us how we operate. You can kind of see who gets to be members and when does your membership end. It ends when you don't pay your dues. The different section meetings, so you'll see on page 3 of the bylaws under the section meetings, it talks about our annual meeting. The section's annual meeting meets either before or during the ABA annual meeting. This past year we were in San Francisco and the section met at that point. We meet at the same time as the mid-year meeting with the ABA. That's in Austin this year. We have 2 other meetings. Oh, that's not section meetings. I'm thinking of council. The council is kind of like our board of governors. They meet quarterly. They meet at the annual meeting. They meet at the mid-year meeting. Historically, the council has also met at the mid-year meet at the Mediation Institute, which is in Houston in November, and then it also meets at the Spring Conference, which is in New Orleans in April. The council includes all of the officers that I've talked about, which includes the immediate past chair. There are 12 members who are elected in staggered terms. We just had that election at the annual meeting. We have 2 members who are advisory committee members, and the advisory committee is made up of other sections who have ADR committees appoint people to serve on our advisory committee so that we have a direct connection to other sections that have ADR committees. We have a law student representative who's appointed by the law student division. We have a young lawyer division representative, the chair of the membership committee, and then an associates liaison. We used to have an associates committee. We don't have that committee anymore, so that will go away. And you can see we have a spring meeting, a summer meeting that we do at the annual meeting, a fall meeting, which historically we've been doing in conjunction with the mediation committee, and then we meet at the mid-year meeting. Then it talks about the officers. If you go down to page 6, and I talked a little bit about that, who they are. The council may create or eliminate other officers' positions. You can see that in section 5.1.1, section delegates, the different terms, how you can get nominated to serve on the as an officer or on the council. Every year we put together an email that goes out to all of the membership. You are invited to submit your name for consideration by a nominations committee to serve as either an officer or on the council. You can self-nominate, or you can have somebody else nominate you. That's fine, and the details for how to do that are all included there. On page 8, you'll see a little bit of information about the section advisory committee that I talked about before. How do you amend the bylaws, and just a miscellaneous provision. So that of course is what governs how we work and what we do. If you'll take then a quick look at the long-range plan, the reason we don't have a long-range planning officer is because we did all of this work over the past couple of years, and we now have a strategic plan. You can see our mission on page 2 of the PowerPoint. We have an elevator message. We have a vision for how we're going to achieve all of this over the course of the next 10 years. And I really do hope that you, as leaders of this section, will take a look at this, because we feel strongly that tying the work that you do as a leader really does need to tie into what we put out here as our long-range plan, what our vision is, that we will be open and welcomed warmly and valued, that people will be able to turn to us as the preeminent resource and forum for neutrals, for users of the different DR processes, that our core values in all of our programs, all of our presentations, and all of our publications, that we value dedication, inclusivity, collaboration, and excellence. And then we kind of go through here and we talk about our different core values, what they are, and then goals for implementing those core values are also listed. Professional development, which is really important, we believe, to our section members. We want to be the primary resource for developing those practical skills that all neutrals need. Thought leadership, to be the primary resource for innovation, for theory, evidence-based research and knowledge. Policy and practice, to be the primary resource and advocate for dispute resolution related policy reform and practice. So for example, we have a couple of task forces that are really looking into certain issues involving policy and practice. So there's a task force on conflict prevention. There's a task force on online dispute resolution standards. And there's also a task force on elder abuse and how to recognize it and what to do about it when you see it in the course of one of your mediations or an arbitration. Fellowship and outreach, we want to make sure that every dispute neutral who wants to be involved feels welcomed and a part of our community. and then governance to work to ensure that the dispute resolution can sustain itself, both in terms of how we work within the section, but also in terms of being financially sustainable, which is an issue that we're struggling with right now. But you can kind of go through all of these. You can see the different goals and how to implement them. I hope you will take the time to familiarize yourself with this, because this is a governing document for the section, and we take this very seriously. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the section staff and who we are. If you'll pull that up real quick. Our primary office is here in Washington, D.C. We have 3 office spaces here that we share among the 4 staff people that are here on a full-time basis. We did give up 2 of our office spaces in a bid to try to save money. And also because we did not hire a program associate after ours left at the beginning of July. So the staff has had to take on some additional responsibilities. And in order to make it easier for the staff to do that, we decided that we would do some, expand the number of staff that do telecommuting. So, and I'll talk when I get down to each individual one, what their telecommuting schedule looks like. We do have a staff meeting on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock. So everybody is in the office with the marked exception of Gina Brown when our staff does meet. So you'll see I'm the section director. There's my email. There's my phone number. That is a landline. My landline is forwarded to my cell phone. So if you call me, it will roll over to my cell phone, and I try to answer it as often as I possibly can, and to be as responsive to you as I can. My job is to be responsible for the overall functioning of the section, to do the staff management that needs to be done. I do take care of the council, so that I prepare for all of the meetings, work on getting the logistics, notifying everybody. I put together, with the help of the section chair and others, the council meeting agendas and materials, and all of that is posted in something that's called ABA Connect, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that is later on. But just real quickly, ABA Connect took the place of listservs. It is a closed system, so that only if you are an ABA member and a member of the section of dispute resolution and on the committee or within the community that exists in ABA Connect can you make use of this particular platform. So ABA Connect serves as a means for committee members to talk to each other. It gives the officers a place to kind of talk to each other there. There's a committee chair and a leadership community. Documents can be uploaded into the library for share, and you can share documents within yourselves in a way that you could not do through listservs. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. I'm responsible for the executive committee that meets every other Friday. We meet for about an hour from 11 a.m. to noon every other Friday, where we conduct the business of the section and make recommendations and review policies and things like that. My job is to watch the money and to approve expenditures, contracts, review the budget, make sure we're not going over. I watch the investments that we have. We have about $1.2 million in an investment account. I watch we have a program support fund, and we have an endowment fund that I also manage. I get monthly financial reports that I pass along to our budget officer, Brian Pappas. I review any new project proposals that come in, try to get them into shape, get them into the right place for consideration. So like, for example, the young lawyers representative to our section worked with another member of our young professionals group and put together a fellows proposal. I worked with them on putting that together, got it through the executive committee, got it to the committee on committees. So proposals usually come through me, and I try to work with you to make sure that they look the way you want them to look and they get to the right place. We get a lot of requests to co-sponsor. I field most of those. I'm responsible for interacting with the larger ABA and the other ABA entities. There are regular meetings of all of the directors of all of the sections, divisions, and forums. There'll be one later on this month, but also the directors here in the DC office try to meet once a month. I try to make sure that all of the ABA requirements, all of the forms and deadlines are taken care of. I worked on the resolution, made sure it got through to the right places at the House of Delegates, take care of all the awards and the long-range planning. Gina Brown is our Associate Director. Gina works always remotely. She is not here in DC. She is somewhere in Colorado. Gina, why don't you tell everybody what you do real quick?
Sure. So I work on our publications. I serve as the managing editor for Dispute Resolution magazine, and so I'm involved with Dispute Resolution magazine editorial board. I also handle what's more of the content of our Just Resolutions e-newsletter. So when committees are providing the articles and a lot of the text for the different monthly e-newsletters, I look at those at a certain stage, although other members of staff do kind of the early interactions with committees on that kind of content. I work with some of the grant projects, though Linda works with a lot of the grant projects as well, and looking at grant opportunities, and as well as our public service projects. And then what's last here is Legal Educators Colloquium and the Court ADR Symposium, and that's really part of a larger effort of working on the programming for the spring conference and making sure that we are bringing in programs both for those individual events that are part of the conference. The symposium is the Wednesday of the conference, and the Legal Educators Colloquium is Saturday of conference, making sure that those days meet the needs of those audiences, as well as that we have great programming for the Thursday and Friday of the conference. And I do other things, but I don't really remember what that is at the moment.
Well, don't you also serve as the institutional memory?
Oh, right.
That's your key role, isn't it?
To be institutional memory, because I have been working with the section of dispute resolution, I like to say, since the beginning of this century, which is correct. I've been here, 19 years now. So luckily we have many other members of great staff who have been here several to many years now as well. And so we are jointly, I think, a very strong institutional memory.
So next is our program specialist, Melissa Buckley. And Melissa is just one of those people that is so organized and so on top of things. I just don't know how we would ever function without her. She had started with the section, I think 4 or 5 years ago, as a program associate. And the program associate really is kind of the administrator for the section. So she knows how to do just about everything. Thank goodness somebody does, right? But right now, her main position is to work with me and work with the Educational Programming Committee and the various institutes and other in-person programs that we have. As the manager, she produces all of the webinars. She takes care of CLE accreditation and scholarship awards. She's only got 4 things there, but I promise you, she does ever so much more, and she's incredibly good at her job. But her primary role is to, as you see there, kind of work with the producers of the various in-person as well as webinar programming for our section. The membership and marketing specialist is Brandon Moore Rhodes. Brandon, oh, just so you'll know, Melissa is working remotely 2 days a week. Brandon will be working remotely 4 days a week. And the reason why I feel that that's going to work fine for him is because he is really our IT person. He does all of the website, he does all of the email blasts, he takes care of Facebook and Twitter. He does all of those kinds of things for you online that need to get done. And he also is my informal advisor when I can't figure out how to do something. I go and I get a hold of Brandon and say, okay, Brandon, help me make this work. And somehow, by magic, Brandon does. He is so much more than just a membership and marketing specialist. Unfortunately, I feel like the job titles that our staff have don't in any way really give you an idea of everything that they do. So in addition to taking care of all of our IT needs, uploading things onto the website, and taking care of our social media things, he does our marketing and informational emails. Those will come out once a week. He takes care of the design and layout of the e-newsletter and other kinds of like brochures and stuff like that. He works on sponsorships, invoices the sponsors and liaisons with them to make sure that they've got what they need. He takes care of exhibitor sales and service for our spring conference, sets up a book sales, I guess, little place for your kind of, if you want to buy books at the spring conference, does other displays at other conferences. The list goes, and he develops marketing strategies for our institutes, for our webinars. He just has a huge role within the section and does far more than what his job title could ever say. We have Zina Hamade, who is our committee specialist, and again, that title doesn't really tell you everything that Zina does. She is the main point of contact for all of the committee chairs. She helps the committees do the things that they need and or want to do while they're up and running. And like, for example, she works very closely with the Ombuds Committee. They're a very active committee. They do newsletters. They've got an Ombuds Day program planned. I know she really works hard to make sure that the committee chairs and the committee members get to do the things that they want to do, like the teleconferences and webinars. She makes sure that the leadership guidebook is kept up to date and keeps track of all of the documents for the committees. The committees use primarily the ABA Connect platform that I talked a little bit about earlier. She's kind of our ABA Connect expert, and she'll talk a little bit later on in this recording about how ABA Connect works and how you can make use of it to the best of your ability. And then she also takes care of meeting logistics for all of our meetings, including for our institutes, our spring conference, meetings that we have here at the office. So when you see a staff person and you see a title beside their name, I promise you, they do a lot more than what that title implies. And of course, contact information for all of the staff you'll see right there beside their names. And just real quickly, how to work with us. We work for the ABA. They write our paychecks. We report to them. We are obligated to do what they tell us to do. But we also work for you. And we will do the best that we can to get you the things that you need and to do the things for you that you need to get done within the 7.5-hour workday that the ABA gives us. We do ask you, though, to pay attention to the things that we send you, to read them, to become familiar with ABA policies and processes to the best that you can. Learn how the ABA works, because we have to work within that ecosystem. We can't just do anything that we want to. We are limited by ABA policies and procedures. Be aware that you are not the only person that is asking for our time and attention. As I mentioned before, there's about 9,000 members, and they all contact us at one time or another, and they all have needs. Be realistic when you're asking for things from us. We are already doing a lot of other things for this section. If you contact us or you send us an email, we may not jump right on it. It may take, I'd like to think that we can get back to you within a 24-hour period. If possible, please don't call us one after another. If you know who you need, call that person. They'll help take care of you. Be realistic about what you expect from us and how quickly we can get something done. If you really have a problem, you are always welcome to call me. I will be responsive to you, I promise. But also be aware that we're a small staff. We've absorbed the recent loss of a valuable staff person, and we're running as fast as we can to get everything done that needs to get done for you and for the ABA. So with that, I will turn it over to Gina, who will take you through her My ABA page.
Right, we'll be handling many other modules here for this. So yeah, thanks everybody. And we will make sure you have links to all of the other information you need. And thanks.